For the longest time, I felt like happiness was this thing that was always out of reach, right? I would have moments of it, whether I was hanging out with a friend or a family member or eating some good food or listening to music that I like. I would get taste of happiness, but I felt like it was always just so fleeting. And I used to think that there was something wrong with me. Why can't I just be happy? Now, I suspect that there are many of you who probably feel that same way. And so, what I'm going to do today is share with you what I wish someone had shared with me when I was struggling, thinking that something was wrong with me and that happiness was out of reach. The big mistake that we make is thinking that happiness is a permanent state of being. And that's why so often we trick ourselves into thinking, oh, if I just could have X amount of money, or if I could graduate college, or if I could get married or have a child, then I'll be happy. That's a big lie. That's a big lie. Because happiness is not a state of being, it's not a permanent state. Happiness, rather, is a choice. It's a decision that we make every single day. And I wish somebody had said that to me. I wish somebody had explained to me that, hey, Shanae, pain and joy can coexist. Happiness and sadness can coexist. There is a place for our negative emotions. Our negative emotions and feelings are important. There's a place for anger, for fear, for hurt, for pain, all these different things. There's a place for them because they warn us that, hey, something is off, something is wrong, something needs fixing. These negative emotions keep us alive. And so I've gotten to a place where I embrace both the positive and the negative because I understand that there's a purpose in all of them. If somebody had said that to me many years ago, I think I would have taken a much different approach to life. I would have lived a life of gratitude rather than a life of constant wanting. So when we say that we want to be happy, I think what most of us are trying to say is it's not that we want to be in a constant dopamine high, always, joyous. But what we're trying to say is we want our positive emotions to exceed our negative emotions. So let me share with you a formula that you can use to increase your happiness. And this is something that is taught by Dr. Arthur Brooks. He's a professor at Harvard, and he has pretty much dedicated his life and his career to studying the science of happiness. And of all the things that I've read and seen, his formula really resonates with me, and I want to share that with you today. But before I dive into this formula, I want to remind you guys to please subscribe to this channel. This is a channel dedicated to strengthening marriages and families. I think that's a great cause. And so if this is a cause that you connect with, please subscribe. He says that happiness is a combination of three things: enjoyment, meaning, and satisfaction. Enjoyment is about doing the things we love with the people we love. Those two go together. We can't separate them. So quite often in life, we seek out pleasurable experiences, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But they won't necessarily add to the happiness of our lives unless we do them with the people we love, because then it allows us to create memories that will last a lifetime. So I know that for a lot of people, whether you have a demanding career or just family life, you get so busy, and spending time with the ones you love takes the back seat. If you are actually looking to increase the happiness that you feel in your life, my invitation to you is to not take your relationships lightly. Be deliberate about getting together with the people you love. And if you find yourself in a situation where you are surrounded by people who don't appreciate you, who don't share the same level of love and respect for you, you are not obligated to stay in those spaces. Because I am telling you that those experiences are just going to rob you of your happiness and your joy. Try and remember the things that you enjoy doing. Those hobbies, those things that bring you pleasure and bring you a sense of happiness and peace, those things that fill up your cup. And then invite a friend, invite a family member to join you in doing those activities so that you can build memories and ultimately add to your feelings of happiness. Next on the list is meaning. And meaning is basically understanding what the purpose of your life is. Now, I'm going to ask you two questions, and by answering both of these questions, you'll be able to decide what exactly is your purpose in life. The first question is, why are you alive? How would you answer that question? Why are you alive? The next question is, for what would you die? If you can answer both of those questions, then you can establish what your purpose in life is, what meaning you have assigned to your life. Now, for me, if somebody were to ask me, why am I alive? In this moment, I would say that I am alive to serve God and serve my fellow human beings. And if you were to ask me for what would I die, my child. I would die for him in a heartbeat. So I think the purpose of my life is rooted in family, faith, and service. Figuring out what the purpose and meaning of your life is will allow you to have that strength and resolve that we all need when the going gets tough. When we are faced with the challenges and the obstacles of life, you can still find joy and hope and happiness in the midst of difficulty if you have identified the purpose of your life. The final part of this equation is satisfaction. Now, satisfaction is the joy that comes after we've done something hard, the joy that comes after we have accomplished our goals. Now, the mistake that we make is thinking that satisfaction lies in money and things and fame and power. But that sort of satisfaction, mind you, those things actually can bring you temporary joy, but again, it's temporary, it's fleeting. Lasting satisfaction comes when we build a life where we start to be grateful for the things that we have and we start to want less. So it's not that you're going to give up on your worthy goals. It's not that you are going to not have expectations for life. But true satisfaction comes when we start to eliminate more and more of the things that we want. And we live in a society today where we are constantly being told that we need more. The moment I hop on the internet, whether it be social media or wherever, I am bombarded with ads. And these advertisers make it seem as though I need this thing. I need this thing to be happy. I need this thing to make my life better. But in reality, all it is an ad. And we have to get to a point in our lives where we don't want as much. Because then we get into this vicious cycle where we need that joy that comes from acquiring something more. And so we buy the new car and we're happy about it for a few months and then we're back to stage one. We buy the new shoes, we're happy about it the first time we wear it and then we're back to stage one. It creates this cycle of greed. It creates this cycle of constant wanting. And if you're constantly wanting more, then guess what? You're going to be overlooking the good things that you already have. And so rather seek for satisfaction in more lasting sources. And I'll share with you the 4 lasting sources of satisfaction. The first one is faith or a life philosophy. And this is not a particular religion or denomination or whatever, but it is about spirituality and having a sort of life compass that helps you make meaning of life. And if you have faith or spirituality, something that you practice regularly, it is going to add to the satisfaction of your life. It is going to add to your happiness. Next on the list is family. And again, this is why I have this channel, because I understand the importance of the familial relationship. No family is perfect. Every family is going to have its ups and downs and its challenges and conflicts, but it's important for us to figure out how to improve our familial relationships, because at the end of the day, when things are hard, the people we lean on quite often are our family members. And so the satisfaction that comes from working at our familial relationship, for the satisfaction that comes from building a stronger bond with our family, that's the kind of satisfaction that you want to work towards. That's the kind of joy that you want to feel in your life. The next source of lasting satisfaction is friends. And friends is quite similar to family. You want to build relationships. You want to build a community, because at the end of the day, none of us should be doing this life alone. None of us should be doing this life alone. We all need people. We all need somebody. And loneliness breeds unhappiness. And then the final source of lasting satisfaction is meaningful work. It's important for us to be engaged in a cause that does good for somebody else. Happiness cannot be found in selfishness. It's important for us to live our lives in service of something greater than ourselves. That could be a stay-at-home mom who has dedicated her life to raising her children and taking care of her husband. That could be a guy who goes out and works and dedicates his life to taking care of his family or helping the community. Whatever it is, whatever the work is that you are engaged in, it should be adding value to the world. And quite often, this work that we are engaged in, it's going to be hard. But hard doesn't mean bad. And so we have to be able to step outside of our comfort zone, do things that stretch ourselves, but all in an effort to add value to the world that we live in. So that's the not so secret formula to happiness. It's a combination of enjoyment, meaning, and satisfaction. As I was on this quest to try and understand happiness, I actually came across a post on my Facebook. I don't know this person, but the post, I think, just perfectly says everything that you and I feel, but we just have not been able to put it into words. And I'm going to read it to you. This person says, we convince ourselves that life will be better after we get married, have a baby, then another. Then we are frustrated that the kids aren't old enough and we'll be more content when they are. After that, we're frustrated that we have teenagers to deal with. We will certainly be happy when they are out of that stage. We tell ourselves that life will be complete when our partner gets his or her act together, when we get a nicer car, are able to go on a nice holiday when we retire. But the truth is, there is no better time to be happy than right now. If not now, when? Your life will always be filled with challenges. It's best to admit this to yourself and decide to be happy anyway. A quote comes from Alfred D. Souza. He said, for a long time, it had seemed to me that life was about to begin, real life. But there was always some obstacle in the way, something to be gotten through first, some unfinished business, time still to be served or a debt to be paid. Then life would begin. At last, it dawned on me that these obstacles were my life. This perspective has helped me to see that there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. So treasure every moment that you have and treasure it more because you shared it with someone special, special enough to spend your time. And remember that time waits for no one. So stop waiting until you lose 10 pounds, until you gain 10 pounds, until you have kids, until your kids leave the house, until you start work, until you retire, until you get married, until you get divorced, until Friday night, until Sunday morning, until you get a new car or home, until your car or home is paid off, until spring, until summer, until winter, until your song comes on, until you've had a drink. There is no better time than right now to be happy. I love this post so much because it tells my story. I, like many people, felt that happiness was wrapped up and bundled in this one thing. If I could just accomplish this one thing, then I would be happy. And I've come to realize that that is not the case. And now I've given myself permission to let go and just be happy, to live a life of meaning and purpose and service, a life of gratitude, understanding that happiness is not a destination. There's never going to be a day when all I feel is just happiness and joy and contentment and peace. That's not the human experience. That is an unrealistic expectation. Pain and joy can coexist. So stop moving that goalpost for happiness. Stop saying that, oh, happiness is on the horizon. Once this happens, then I'll get there. No. Pattern your life after happiness by doing the things that I've described earlier. I don't want us to get to a point where we are at the end of our lives, we're on our deathbeds, and we think to ourselves, wait, this is it? Like it's over? But rather, I want us to get to a place where if we were to die at any moment, yes, there would be sadness, maybe even anger. Like I said earlier, there's a place for negative emotions. But at least we would be able to look at our lives and say, hey, I lived a happy life. I lived a life that was filled with purpose and meaning. I didn't betray myself by just sitting around and doing nothing all day, by just taking the easy way out. But rather, I did the hard things. And in doing the hard things, the uncomfortable things, in stepping outside of my comfort zone, I have added value to this world. And for that, I say my life was well lived. So if you would like to continue to learn more about happiness, I am going to include some links in the description box. One of them is actually a free Harvard online course taught by the man himself, Arthur Brooks. You can go, you can sign up. It is 6 weeks long. It would require you to spend maybe 3-4 hours a week learning about happiness. And along the way, increasing the happiness that you feel within your life. This is a great way to spend 3 to 4 hours a week instead of doom scrolling or binge watching a show. Learn something of value. But that's it for today's episode. I want to thank you for being here. If you liked my content, please subscribe, please stick around. But until next time, remember to live a good life.